Good day. Wherever you are all over the world, there are people listening in the United States, South America, Europe, Israel. Maybe it's a little late in the day over there, and the Far East. We have subscribers from all over the world, thousands of people that listen to this. If you enjoy listening to the spiritual role model and spiritual lesson you learn from the books of the prophets, the Haftorot, supplemental reading to the Torah reading, listen up. There are 7 things that you need to know to understand this Haftorah and every Haftorah. Haftorah meaning the supplemental reading to the Torah. And the 7 things are, number 1, why do you read this portion of the prophets? 2, who's it about or who wrote it? 3, where did he or she live? 4, when did they live? 5, any famous phrases? 6, storyline. And 7, what lesson is there to be learned? Here goes, 5 minutes or less. Number 1, this Haftarah, this supplemental reading is read because in the Torah, the Bible portion of the 5 books of Moses, you read about how the third of the 4, as in before fathers, is going to pass away. And he calls his children. He's at the age of 147 years old, Jacob, also known as Israel. And he gives blessings to all his sons. In the Haftarah, similarly, the leader of the nation was King David, David HaMelech, King David. And David is 70 years old, and he's in his 11th hour and maybe a few more minutes into it. And he has a conversation with his 12-year-old son, Shlomo, King Solomon. And here's how it goes. Vayikruvu Yemei David Lamus. The days of David are coming to an end, and he tells Shlomo, I'm going to pass away soon, and I need you to firm up as a man. You're a young boy, you're a young lad, you're about to be the king. Please listen up. Listen to what God has told us to do and walk in his pathway, and listen to all his rules, commandments, ordinances, and testimonies that was written in the Torah of Moses, in the Bible of Moses. And if you do so, you will stay firmly planted in your position, as well as the Davidic dynasty will come generation after generation until the Messiah comes. Therefore, watch yourself and be careful to do only good. Then David goes into this tirade about what Yoav ben Seruya did, that he murdered Avner ben Ner and Amasa ben Yeser. He killed them in time of peace. No good. David says, don't let that guy go to his grave naturally. Think about what to do. Then he mentions this man named Barzillai from Giladi. And he says, he showed me kindness. Make sure to reciprocate that he is welcome at the table of the king, and that you should feed him and his entire family. He continues, vacillating. Bad guy, good guy, bad guy. That here there was a man named Shimei ben Gera, and he cursed me, a horrific curse. And he said, do not let this man go to his grave naturally either. So now, King David passes away, and he is buried in the city of David. The Beit HaMikdash, the God's temple, was not standing. And it says The days that King David ruled over Israel were 40 years, 33 Jerusalem, and then 7 years prior to that in the city of Hebron. And then it says that Shlomo sat on the throne of his father David, and he fortified the leadership of Am Yisrael. He was the great King Solomon. That's the short Haftorah. What you learn is it happened about 3,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and we learned a little bit about who King David was and King Solomon was, just because I wanted to keep it succinct. David Melech Yisrael, Chai v'Kayam. Still, we sing the song, David Melech Yisrael, Chai Chai v'Kayam, that David endures forever and ever as the king, the patriarch of the royal family of the Davidic dynasty. It goes straight until the Messiah comes. Then, the lesson you learn is, first of all, live your life with integrity. And you have to know when to be, in the words of Giddy Greenstein, rigid and flexible. Flexigidity is the title of his book. So we learn that David HaMelech was the king, his son Shlomo was about to become king, and King David held off on executing some people because it's part of a longer story, but it would have put him into grave danger, both him and his son. So we have to calculate and we have to measure. We cannot have knee-jerk reactions from anger, but we should do things with decisions level-headed and emotionally stable that are good, not only for you, but your family, your friends, and the nation of Israel. Shabbat Shalom. God bless you all.